What's up? How's it going, gamers? Let's get into it. We've got another video for you today, and this time it's going to be Amulet Titan versus Mono Black Coffers. So shout out to the Goblin Queen, Davy. Any of you fans out there that have kind of following the Commander scene, you might be familiar with Davy. She, streams up Commander and does all kinds of amazing content, but she is obsessed with Cabal Coffers. So, I don't know if she's playing it in Modern, but this is 100% would be her deck if she did play Modern. So we've got a new showcase. We haven't showed Mono Black Coffers on the channel yet, so it's going to be really exciting to see how things go with it. I believe we've showed Titan a couple times, or at least I have a backlog of Titan videos that maybe I've been waiting to show. I don't know. I can't keep track of it. We've got lots of videos. We're doing the double videos a week now. So we've got that to be able to look forward to every Monday and Thursday. So if you guys aren't following the channel, consider doing it for consistent Modern coverage and content for y'all out there. And speaking of Modern, we've got Modern Horizons 3 in full swing right now for the spoiler season, at least. So lots of spoilers have been already revealed. Lots of people are starting to, consider and brew and plan. Lots of reprints for Commander, it seems. That's it's also got a Commander set attached to it. It's a whole thing. But getting into this game itself here, we are seeing already just kind of stripping away the Urza Saga, which is really nice. That's kind of one of the benefits of being able to have this mono black list, because you do get to run things like the Field of Ruin and Demolition Field and things like that, so just kind of blow up a non-basic lands. And Amulet Titan is pretty much full of them. I mean, in this case, we do see the forest, we see the Valakut out there, and if you are looking at the list, which lists are in the description for you to be able to check out, you might be looking at it and you go, well, Valakut is caring about mountains, but there's no other mountains in the list. Well, that's because Dryad of Elysium Grove is in here, which lets you play extra lands. It also makes it so lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. So that means that all those non-basic lands that you're playing, all those tap lands, the bounce lands, all of that stuff are now mountains. So you can be able to start utilizing Valakut, start poking things up. But nice little Damnation coming in here. I like the main board. Damnation. Some lists run one of, some run two of. It's very dependent. You can also, of course, tweak lists based on how your shop's meta is, depending on how things are going, because there is that kind of overall meta that you see within Modern and how players are piloting things at large events, how players are piloting online, because the metas for online are also slightly different. They're very close to the in-person metas, but they might be slightly different because, you might want to just kind of go for quick wins as much as possible, go for that sort of style of play, where, in paper version, you're seeing a little bit of differences here. Like, you're starting to see Rakdos Scam climb back up again. Something about Grief just being a really good card. I don't know. Well, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Mono Black Coffers. We're here to talk about Amulet Titan here, and we're getting right back into it, just stripping away more cards. And there, we've got our third forest coming out here, and I want to say that's probably the cap. I would say most Amulet players are running about 3 forests main board here, and that's it. They don't run any other basics. Why do you have the forest? Well, in the off chance you run into things like Blood Moon or annoying things that can mess with your lands, like in this case that are blowing up your lands, you want to have some ability to kind of get more. I mean, it runs the most lands out of any deck in Modern, right? It's kind of the Modern version of lands. Speaking of lands, if you guys did not catch our Legacy footage, we had lands versus elves on one of our previous videos. It was the Tron versus Hardened Scales, and there was a little bonus footage of Legacy at the end. So if you guys haven't checked that out, you can check it out. I'll put a little link up here on screen. You can check that out after this video, of course. Go check it out after this. Finish watching this one first. But Amulet Titan is the name of the deck, and Amulet of Vigor is now in play here. So we are going to be able to start getting that advantage we're hoping for, going to start being able to do some acceleration. But the One Ring coming out here, a nice little blanket protection effect here, saying, hey, you can't mess with me. I get to draw cards off this. It's kind of a win-win situation going on here for the Mono Black Coffers, trying to dig into potential answers, right? You're going to have to sit here and set yourself up with enough tools to kind of deal with your opponent. Things are a little bit tough on the Amulet side, though. Like, you are sitting here with a lot of forest, and you're really trying to kind of accelerate stuff out. So we're going to say turn this, do a little untappies here. Amulet, of course, lets our stuff come in untap, and just sort of passing. So it looks like we don't have any specific value or payoff yet for our Titan player. And when you think about it, it's running 31 lands. You know, that is kind of a big, tough decision-making here where you're like, well, I don't currently have a Summoner's Pack. I don't have anything else. Like, the plan was at first, let's go for this Dryad of Elysium Grove. Let's go for the Valakut plan. Let's try to do this. And now we're just going to strip away and blow up another land. And I would probably assume at this point we're in the fail to find mode. But let's just kind of go through and double check. We get a kind of get a glimpse of what the list is looking like here. Yeah, fail to find. Failed to find, but stripping that away. There's no Cabal Coffer shenanigans going on at this point. We are just kind of drawing cards, trying to dig, like we talked about, into ways to react and respond to our opponents. We're going to see a Summoner's Pact here. So you got to go find any green creature, puts it into your hand, and then, of course, you have to pay that pact cost or you lose the game. So that is, of course, 4, 2, and double green off of this. So we'll see. What is the choice here? Ooh, okay. It's like a lot of people will be like, oh, let's go for the Titan. But it's like you also have to think about how is he able to play it? And at this point, no. So we're going for the Cultivator Colossus here. So choosing that, it is expensive. So he goes, all right, on your turn, I'll do the Summoner's Pact. And then on my turn, I'll pay. Interesting to do it in that order and not do it on his turn. Interesting. I don't play Amulet Titan enough to understand the lines of it. So the other option is, what are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 lands here that you could play Titan, get 2 more lands, and then still be able to respond. I don't know if he was worried about something. And that's why it's like, okay, my opponent has a lot of mana available. There's a lot of removal in place here that I'm worried about. Maybe if I do it on my opponent's turn, I'm set up for the next turn. There's the Cabal Coffers. All right, so the way that this is set up here is that you are going to be able to get a bunch of mana. We see a Thoughtseize strip away that 1 threat. But the nice thing about the Cabal Coffers is you get 1 black mana for each swamp you control. It costs 2 to cast, or 2 to activate that land, and then you just kind of generate a bunch of mana off of it. It's kind of like a big mana deck within black. It's very control-y. It's a control deck without running counter spells, right? It's a control deck without blue. So if you want to play that style, this deck is the deck for you to kind of learn and play with. And again, you know, we keep talking about like, oh, the price of decks aren't too bad. Like, give or take $800 to $900 for a Cabal list. Biggest thing in the list, the One Ring. That's the biggest expense in there. Besides that, Orcish Bowmasters. I guess Urborg technically has gone up in price and Cabal's up in price, but that's it. The rest of it's relatively cheap. Thoughtseize just got reprinted recently, so like that's, you can get a playset for, you know, probably like $25 or something like that, maybe 30. But ooh, this is really bad here. Okay, so we're going to go through and we're going to strip away so the Necromentia here. Choose a card, and we're going to choose, or sorry, name a card. We're going to choose Amulet Titan. We're going to choose Primeval Titan specifically and say, hey, I'm going to strip away your ability to get lands and just keep you off this game altogether. We already lost the Cultivator Colossus. We just lost the Primeval Titans. So now it's like, I guess we're on Dryad of Elysium, Valakut, land go strategy and hoping for the best here. But even then, it's like, how long do you stick it out after you lose that kind of the namesake of the deck? Like the tutor effect to be able to do that was really, really cool. Not something that very many people are running, but it's like you get to sit here and tutor for a sideboard card or a card in your deck. So it's like you get a lot of flexibility with it. So like we said, it's kind of very control-y of the way the deck is played. But no, we're going to see the scoop up here. We've had enough with game one. We're going to be going into the sideboard stage. He said, I have enough to kill the remaining threats that are left in your deck with Fatal Pushes and, Sheoldred's Edicts and annoying cards like that. So if this is your first time joining us, we do skip over the sideboard aspect of it. When we stream these live, we do spend the time and talk through it and go through it a little bit more details. But at this point, we don't need to be talking about it, right? That is not the case because we are not doing this live at the moment. We might be doing some more live coverage of it come this summer, but at this moment in time, we are just kind of enjoying the YouTube adventures and getting 2 videos out a week for you guys. But hey, everybody gets some swamps. There's an Urborg, and now we've got an Urza Saga. Will that survive? We'll see. But ooh, Defense Grid is the choice here. Okay, during each player's turn, spells played by another player cost an additional 3. So basically saying you want to be able to mess with me, you want to be able to Sheoldred's Edict me, you want to be able to do these things. You are not able to do that on my turn. You're going to have to basically cast all of your stuff at sorcery speed unless you get up into the later stages, the big mana stages. So we're in the land go stage right here, getting things set up. Now, if you're wondering about the way our lands are set up, we've got a pretty good split at this moment in time with the lands. Cabal Coffers already for the mono black Coffers player is nice, but on the Amulet side, that Microsynth Garden is really key because you can be able to make a copy of your Defense Grid. You could be able to make a copy of your, of course, Amulet of Vigor. But we see this nice little activation. Urza Saga here. Let's make a construct here, which will, of course, have its power and toughness equal number of artifacts on the battlefield. Right now it's 2, but we are getting a 3rd one because Urza Saga is going to sacrifice itself. Here's the Amulet coming out already. Permanents, of course, that would enter tapped. Enter untapped now. Very awesome card. If you've ever played a gate deck in Commander, you know that you're going to be wanting to run that card. But there's a whole modern deck built around it. If you like lands, this is the deck for you. It's got a lot of cool lines. It can be a little bit complicated, right? Understanding which lines to go for and when to do it. But once you start learning it, it gets to be a little bit redundant in that regard of, okay, I just need to go from point A to point B, and I don't care as much about what you're doing because my game plan is going to remain consistent. But it's just that matter of learning those lines to get there. So now we see that little, hey, I'm going to float a bunch of mana, and now we'll play this 1 ring. I'm protected. I'll draw some cards. And swinging in with the construct. I think the Amulet player would just said, I hate this matchup. I can imagine how stressful that is when you're facing down someone that's running a bunch of Sheoldred's Edicts and stuff like that, that you're just like in this weird spot. Yeah, right there. He says, please sacrifice a token creature. Get rid of him. And that's really all you do. Missing a land drop hurts here, though. Right? Because you're in this weird spot of like, you want more mana, so your Cabal Coffers actually powers up and can start doing stuff, and now you're like, his hand's all gas then. You know how scary that's going to be if you're like, okay, how bad is this going to be? It's going to be pretty bad if you can start resolving stuff. Oh, Dryad of Elysium Grove. We get some extra lands. Bam, bam, bam. You'd love to see it. Remember, that kind of synergizes with the Valakut side of things. Oh my gosh, now we're up to 3. Okay. We're going to generate so much mana now. And with the 1 ring out there that you're just like getting card advantage off it, like you're tapping that every turn essentially right now. Worst case, you draw into another amulet. Or I'm sorry, worst case, you draw into another 1 ring, replace it, and be good again. Or you draw into a threat like one of your Primeval Titans, draw into your Summoner's Pack, right? Your Cultivator Colossus, or, you know, additional ways to kind to keep going. But hey, let's sacrifice it. We're not going to be doing that. Dryad of Elysium Grove. And the Amulet Titan player says, wise move. Yeah, we understand just how scary that card is. The extra land drops are a dangerous thing to be facing right now. But there's the big draw 3 off the 1 ring, so we can kind of get set up for the next stages here of hopefully trying to drop a threat. But really, we're in the lead here, right? If we're thinking about that advantage meter, it is very much on our Amulet Titan player side. There's the Primeval Titan as well. Another missed land drop for the Mono Black Coffers is going to make this even harder with the defense grid. There's no way to interact with this at this point in time. So we're going to be able to see 2 lands get added up here, and we'll be more than likely going for this kind of try to kill you here. So I don't know if he's going for like the old school style of play with like, let's get a double striker coming out. I know a lot of people are trying out this kind of battlements style of like your creature's going to get haste and you can do things like that. I don't know. Looks like, okay, here we go. The classics. We're going with the classics right here. So the way this works is we're going to, of course, generate a bunch of mana because we've got so many Amulet of Vigors. He says triggers. Let's do some floating. And I will give him +2 and vigilance and a haste, and we're going to do that 3 times. Trigger. Let's get 2 more lands. Are we getting the double striker? So we need a Vesuva here. Yep, there's the Sunhome. Vesuva to make a copy of our Boros Garrison here to get the red and a white. And you're going to then be able to give Primeval Titan double strike. Yep, there's the Vesuva. So yeah, pays 4, target creature gains double strike until the end of turn. Let's see, it said, bam, 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 let's get you. The Amulet Titan is very explosive in that regard, and that was a much more subdued way of seeing it, but it's like you got to see the build-up and the setup to get there to that point of now we can kill you. Some Amulet Titan draws can be able to win on turn 3. It is very explosive. So if you're able to disrupt it enough, you're kind of set up in a better spot. So we see kind of our Mono Black Coffers player and our Amulet Titan getting things all shuffled up and counting up. You, of course, can be able to do this once per match. If you do it too many times, you know, call the judge because you'll get yourself in trouble. But you can do it once per match. And after missing so many land drops, we understand why the Mono Black Coffers player is like, let's really mix up the deck. And we are going to be getting a mulligan here, too, down to 6. Swamp past turn. No Thoughtseize to start it out. That's why Amulet Titan player even asks, are you sure? You got nothing you're going to do to me? There's the turn 1 Amulet of Vigor. Very nice. You'd love to see it. Getting things set up as well for kind of the later stages with the Urza Saga. Ooh. Profane Tutor. I love this card. I have not played with it in Modern yet. I've only played with it in Commander, and I don't know. Tutor effects are great, but in this deck, you're just like, yeah, this is just a find Cabal Coffers if I need to, or find a answer if I need to. 2 mana, I can take 2 turns. Like, if I cast this any point in the game, all right, in the first few turns, first 4 turns, I'm feeling good with it. Even later stages, yeah, it's not as good because I would be like, oh, I really need an answer now, where it's like these early stages is great. But another defense grid comes out, another Vigor, Amulet of Vigor out on the field as well. So a big build up here for both players. Oh, Necromentia coming out immediately. Let's go for Primeval Titan here. What? He's got all 3 in his hand. Oh my gosh. He's like, hey, there's one more in there too. Oh, man. That was about to be a really scary next turn. Like, he would have just started, like, swinging in. Oh, man. Yeah, so what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess he wouldn't have enough to have cast it there. Right? Because what does he get off of... I guess... Oh, no, he would. Because Amulet... He'll have a 3rd Amulet of Vigor here because Urza Saga will pop. So you would be able to sit there, generate 6 mana, play Primeval Titan on your turn 3. Yeah, that would... Okay, so he kept 3... Or, you know, I don't know if he kept 3 in his hand, or he had 3 in his hand at one point, because maybe he was under that assumption, you're going to thought seize me and I can go from there. We do get some 2/2 zombies. The Necromentia there does, if it strips away cards from hand, then you are going to be able to make a 2/2 zombie for each one. So that's why there are 3 zombies out. Now we're in this weird spot. We've got a lot of amulets. We've got some 2/2 zombies. And that's about it. We still have Cultivator Colossus. We still have Dryad of Elysium Grove. We've got a clock. Make 6 mana. Okay. No other payoffs there. With Dryad, you could, he says, make 6, use 3 of it for this. Still had 3 left. You could have played another land, generated 9 mana. If only he had something to go off of with that, like if there was the One Ring, if there was, you know, a Cultivator Colossus, a Summoner's Pact, something to go with, but it was not the case. What is the choice? What did we tutor for here?
That's probably scarier than anything I can draw. I'm pretty sure you'll damnation is the only thing I could draw. Oh, that's also good.
Okay. The One Ring. Don't know if that's what he tutored for, but at least that's what we're playing this turn and protecting ourselves. So that buys us a turn. Ooh, the cat. Roxanne, Starfall Savant. Is that what that was? I think that was. That's the newest like addition that players are trying out. Little Thunder Junction tech in there. Yeah, can't do anything. We just have our tap land. No point in playing it right now. I mean, we could, I guess, but I don't like. I don't know. What's the point? That would be like overextending to the max. Ooh, Cabal Coffer's coming out, and we have the Urborg. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 mana that we can make off of this. Yep, 5. Ooh, Damnation in hand. Yeah, look, it's the sweet altered version of it, too. You guys a fan of alters? Are you on the alter train, getting people to alter your cards? That's like more of an alter to extend the art of it. I've seen some very cool alters where people have just drawn completely new art on top of it. I've commissioned a couple of different pieces so far. Did, of course, 2 awesome Eldrazi that I turned into Gundams for my buddy for a little wedding gift. And then I'm getting my main commander, getting alters for that, the Garth One-Eye deck. Which, you know, you'll see. I'll post them up on Twitter and stuff like that when they get here. Dude, transmuting. All right, let's dig. Let's go. So, you can be able to pay the 3 mana, go find yourself a 0. There is, of course, the 0 card we care about is Summoner's Pact. You do not have the mana at this moment, though. All right. Yeah, he says your go. I'm not gonna risk it right now. All right. We keep talking about that advantage meter, and if you're following along at home, the advantage meter has swung so far onto the mono black coffer side, it's basically touching the side of the screen. Now, Amulet Titan player's not out of it, but they have an insane mountain they've got to climb, especially with a second Cabal Coffers. What? It says I'm gonna make 6 mana right now. You could put 2 of it into there. Make 10 mana. Let's use 1 of it. Let's thought seize you. Hey, you got that Summoner's Pact? What if I steal it from you? Yeah, Summoner's Pact, we knew about that. The Roxanne we saw earlier there. So that gets to make those meteors that tap for mana, and they get to deal 2 damage to any target when they enter the battlefield there. So you can start throwing meteors at your opponent and be like, yeah, get you. and we'll get rid of Roxanne there. Say, get out of here. I'm not gonna let you have that extra threat, which makes sense why we brought that in this matchup. You know your opponent's stripping away your threats, so if you're able to have more in there, you're gonna be set up a little bit better. All right, let's see. Ooh, that's nice. We see Karn, great creator. You know, we talked about the kind of big mana decks like Tron and stuff in the past. Well, Cabal Coffers is kind of like a control version of that, just using black mana. We're still an artifact toolbox styled similar to Tron, and now we're going to be going and getting a lovely way to kind of close out this game with an engineered explosive there and say, what if I just blow up your field? Will you concede now? I've stripped away your threats. Now I'm blowing up your field. Is that enough? And yes, that is enough. That's a tough one. Little discussion from the players, just kind of going through things. We'll see a little bit of their sideboard. And okay, so this is the little tech that we're seeing that is unique to this player, is they're running Shadow of Doubt main board to kind of, that also has a little effect on player Amulet Titan players there. So yeah, very, very cool to see. I like both these decks. If it was me personally, I would more likely pick up and pilot the Mono Black Coffers over the Titan. But let me know, which deck would you rather be playing, or what deck are you currently playing in Modern? But I hope you guys have been enjoying the gameplay coverage that we've been doing. Again, there's going to be videos coming out every Monday, every Thursday. As we get into the summer, we might even start adding some streams in, so keep tuned. Stay tuned for all that kind of good stuff. If you like it, share it. Let people know about the content that we're doing. We're looking into some slight adjustments to cameras, to videos, recordings, maybe adding face cams back in. We've got some ideas. Big things coming. But hope you guys have been enjoying all the content. Thanks so much for the support and watching, and I'll see you all next game.